So okay, now let's talk about PhD finally.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask first that like how did you decide PhD? But you told earlier that you were so sure.
Yeah,
But still one question, like you knew that intent you want to do PhD like somewhere in the future. But
yeah.
did your bachelor's and master experience affected that? Like it shaped that PhD thing and abroad thing also specifically.
Yes, a lot actually. In my bachelor's, I was how to say a lot distracted, you can say, from my studies and all these things. So I was like, okay, maybe I should drop this option of doing PhD because it's a long journey. You have to invest a lot of time. And I mean, that time also I was like sure that I have to do PhD. But then after seeing all these things, that okay, I'm not involved much more in studies and I'm getting distracted. So maybe it is not the field because you need a lot of dedication and time for PhD. So I was getting distracted, but yeah, somehow I try to manage. And during my masters, actually, and especially because of some of my classmates who were like my close friends as well. So because of them, I think I got again interested in science and research. Yeah, so they were like secondary motivation for me
Company matters a lot.
a lot. Yeah, 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 yeah. Surroundings, so it's really important, and they were like really good. I mean, not all of them are doing PhD, but yeah, at least they helped me in getting back to the track,
Yeah, this is
which was
great.
good.
So basically, there is a gap in your master's and PhD. You did internships or research projects, or
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, because as I mentioned that I was a little bit unsure about my like not interest particularly, but also whether I can give that much time to PhD in certain field. So I was a little bit kind of underconfident, you can say
okay.
that because I knew that PhD takes a lot of time as well as need some kind of expertise as well. And during my bachelor's and master's, I was not that much confident with the, let's say, skills or techniques what I had learned. So I was like, okay, let's do internship. It will not only boost my skills, but also it will give me a kind of indication whether this particular field is good for me or not. And that's why I tried many other different fields from microvirology to epidemiology to genetics. And then genetics was like, okay, it's much more interesting to figure out all these genes, how it is working. It's like switching off something and
Yeah.
like this way. Yeah.
But it is so
So,
interesting. Where I was doing my master's project, those PhD students used to work on these genes and virus and all. So I used to learn a lot from them in masters. So yeah, it is really
so
interesting.
that's why I always recommend people, let's say, who are a little bit in dilemma or confused whether they should do PhD or not, because there are certain students who are there in their masters, let's say final year of masters, and still they are confused whether in which area they should go for job or for PhD. So for them, I would always suggest to do internships because they will enhance their skills as well as they will figure it out whether okay research is good for them or not,
Yeah.
because you need uh, tons of, let's say, motivation and passion
Yeah,
to pursue
indeed.
research. PhD is not like a smooth process.
Yeah,
So there's always up and down going on, and it's quite frustrating and stressful, but it's quite worth it journey. I mean, sometimes we feel like, yeah, why we are doing this, but once you will be finished with this, then you will be like, yeah, I got to learn a lot of things, not only the research part, but lessons, you can say.
yeah, it is just like a life, I think. Very much
Yeah,
like a life. And if you are from India and you are doing PhD abroad, then life, I would say. Because in India,
yeah,
like I'm from the family, and I guess we almost people are where our mothers and parents do almost things. We don't
yeah,
we don't do this in school till bachelor's anything.
yeah.
And here we do like everything, financial thing, home thing, food thing, like every everything we do on by own. So it's quite a daunting task to do.
Yes, it is indeed, but I think I was a little bit multi-talented in this. I
Yeah.
was doing this from my childhood already.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, because after my 12th grade, I was already out of my hometown.
Wow.
So I got this exposure of managing these things from my bachelor's already. So yeah, it was good experience for me as well. But
Okay.
before that, I was also like same.
Till masters, like this is the first time I've come out from India, I should say,
Okay.
or from home, I should say. So the next thing I would like to ask, like, why European country, not US? Like, did you know already you don't want to do subjects like coursework, basically?
Mhm. Yeah. So why Germany or Europe? Because the thing is, there were some professors in my university who did their, let's say, postdoc or PhD from Europe, especially from Germany. And there was one professor who was really nice. I mean, in terms of teaching, his teaching way and research was really interesting. So he was always talking about Germany, like, okay, Germany is this and that, and research area is nice. So that's how I got like kind of into that. Okay, yeah, maybe let's do my higher studies in Germany. So yeah, I was doing all this research that how I can get PhD position or maybe internship to at least enhance my research skills. And if not get, let's say, PhD position, at least I can get internships and then go back to India again and do my PhD. Because yeah, in India also there are many nice institutes where you can do PhD.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I decided.
Groups. You have chosen your country, like Germany. Now you have to find research groups. And once you decided research group by going on different websites, now you have to prepare main data, which you have to send to the professor, like mail, CV, cover letter, and SOP. So would you show some highlight? And yeah, before that, is there any reason why didn't you choose US?
Uh, yeah, because of this coursework thing. So because when I was doing all this research about the PhD application and where to do where to pursue PhD, so then I got to know that you have to do coursework, then a rotation program. It's good. It's good for people, let's say, who are interested in PhD just after their bachelor's, because in US this is the option that you can pursue PhD just after your bachelor's. So you don't have to go through masters and then PhD. But it's not good for people who I would not say not good, but I mean it depends on their preference. So because I was already having all this experience from after my masters, so I just wanted to do research work in my PhD. So that's why I chose Germany and not US, because you have to invest a lot of time in coursework, and some courses are not that like how to say relevant for your research, because I knew from my seniors, some of my seniors, so that's why I didn't choose US.
Yeah. Now about my previous question.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, for PhD aspirants, I always suggest that, let's say, if you have decided that in which area you want to do PhD, then just take a notebook, write down all, let's say, research institutes and professors who are working in that area. So make a list, maybe in a notebook or maybe in Excel sheet. So you can make all this list with their name, affiliation, and their email address. And one section where you just mark it, whether you have sent the application or not. If you're approaching professor with cold emailing, so make a list and read about their paper, try to find out something which is much more interesting to you, as well as if you can connect with your previous experiences and how you can contribute to their ongoing research. So write a short, like kind of brief email. So not just sending like, okay, a request for PhD position and I'm interested in your lab for PhD. So probably they will ignore that, especially in Europe, they will ignore that. So
Sure.
you have to do a little bit of homework. That means read their paper. So, and that's why it will be helpful if you have the list already, because if you'll have list, then you can decide, okay, in maybe 1 week, I will send 1 or 2 application. So you don't have to like blindly send application through many professors. If you have nice list and have researched nicely, then with maybe 20 or 50 application, it's much enough, more than enough. You might get maybe 5 or 10 responses. Positive response. Positive response means interview. And if you get into interview, then yeah, it depends on you how you are presenting yourself.
Yeah. True. I shot around 60 emails in Europe, I think. I didn't get single interview.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's part of process.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, I mean
really
yeah, if I also, I mean, look for my PhD application, I think I did hundreds of applications. But yeah, it was in a specific area. So because I already knew that, okay, I have to do PhD in genetics field. So I was just pursuing professors who are working in that particular area. Yeah. And for SOP, I would suggest that it's like marketing of your skills. So how you can sell better. So you don't have to like write that, okay, I got interested in research because my grandfather had cancer and that's how I got interested in cancer biology. It's really bad. I mean, not bad, but it's not good to write it like this way. Maybe you can write it like this way that, okay, yeah, uh, I read your paper, certain paper, got interested in that, or I already had a little bit of interest in that particular area. And based on this, I present this idea that, okay, this can also be done in, or what are the loopholes in this research area which can be filled, yeah, like this way, so that you sound more like a researcher and you have to present your thinking ability.
Yeah. And in CV, like any tips you want to give to the people for CV?
CV, if you're applying for a PhD position, always use scientific CV. That means because academic CV or scientific CV is different from job CV,
Yeah.
where you kind of mix everything. But in scientific CV, you have to categorize everything. So for example, write a research interest, and then maybe your educational background, where you present your bachelor's or master's, then research experience. If you have done internship or some research positions, then you can add that, then publication, and then lab experiences. Let's say if you have any lab experience, so you can categorize that as well. For example, for biologists, because biology is broad field, even in terms of techniques or experiment. So you can categorize that, let's say molecular biology technique, microbiology technique, things like that, or biophysics. If you talk about NMR, you can include all
Lots
these
of
things. Yeah.
lots of verticals in this only.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would be easy for professors because they don't want to, let's say, because they are professor and they don't have that much time. So
Yeah.
you have to write that specific things so that it can be eye catchy.
Exactly. So basically, if I ask like how much time it took you to grab that PhD position, so like it took me 1 year around. So how much time did you take?
Uh, so for me, it was a little bit different because I was doing internship in Hungary. So it was already kind of 95% sure that, not 95%, actually 99% sure that I will be continuing for PhD in same lab because they already offered me PhD position. So I was not applying anywhere. But things changed in the last few months of that internship because yeah, some certain things were not working out in between me and my supervisor, and I don't wanted to stay in that lab. So I started applying to other labs. So it was like maybe 6 months or so. I prepared for that. But this process I already knew because before that also I was applying for PhD position before internship. So in total, yeah, you can say 1 year.
Exactly. I just asked this
So
duration to show perseverance to the students, even if ninth standard kid is watching.
yeah, you need that.
Takes
uh,
perseverance in this.
and also patience as well. So don't get frustrated, or don't give up that, okay, you get some email that, okay, they don't have position or they cannot offer you. So don't get demotivated by that. There are many options. You just keep applying. But yeah, do not apply blindly as well. Then for sure you will get only rejections.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is
because
also,
I've seen many students that they have applied like this, so that they write email and they add other professors in CC. Because
what?
some students have done this to my lab, and my professors, he sent all this email to me. And when I saw, I was like, it's really, I mean, you should do a little bit of research when you are applying for PhD position. And also do not address any other professor with a different name if you don't know. So that's why it's very important to do research, because if you're applying blindly, then you just copy paste the previous email and you, let's say, do not change the name of that professor. Sometimes
Yeah,
it happens.
people do this kind of goof ups a lot.
Yeah, many people do that when they are, let's say, desperate to get PhD position.
It is blunder.
Yeah, it is.
So now, like, you have gotten the position, you have done with the interview. I'm not asking about interview because I think it's really different from person to person. But still, if you
Yes.
would like to give tip, just tip because
Uh, for interview, I mean, I have already said that you have to have 2 3 things that why you will be suitable candidate. So you have to present that thing in interview, that why you are suitable candidate and how you can contribute to their ongoing research. So you have to present like, okay, what you have done and what they are doing and how it is aligned together, this thing. And third thing is, yeah, you have to show your scientific background, not the technical part, because see, during PhD you can learn techniques anytime, but for PhD you are trained to become a scientist. That means you need that thinking ability, scientific thinking ability. So you have to present in the interviews session that you are able to have this critical analysis part.
yeah, indeed. Like I remember in my interview, my professor literally asked me to solve moles molarity in front of him.
Okay.
So
Okay.
very random it was like.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, I'm doing PhD under him now.
Yeah, then it was successful. That means, yeah,
It was
it is.
something like really particular. So can be very. And in one like interview, I remember from Canada, that was the sweetest professor ever. She's like, I have seen your CV and now you are selected. Just I'm telling you, Canada is so cold. Are you willing to come like that? So it's like very broad. So
Yeah, it can be different
yeah,
experience.
that is why I was like a bit refraining to ask interviews because they can be completely different for different person.
Yeah. And also, I mean, don't expect too much. Like when you're in the interview session, that okay, what will happen if I not get selected? So because you get nervous and you tend to make mistakes. So be calm. That okay, if I will not get selected, there are other positions. I will give another interview, but I will learn from this interview. So you should be more focusing on okay, how this process is going and how I can improve. Let's say in my next interview session. So in that way, you will be calm and you will be answering it nicely.
Yeah.
And one more thing, you should be how to say, uh, if you don't know certain things during the interview, just simply say that, okay, you don't know, but you are willing to learn rather than saying something totally,
That is again blunder.
yeah. Yeah, because many people have done, because now I'm involved in this application process because my professor, he's always, whenever he's taking interview of any PhD student, he's always including me. And I'm not asking anything in that, but I just listen to them, okay, what they are saying. So yeah, that's how I got to know that, okay, they can simply say that okay, yeah, they don't know because it's a little bit different from the research field what they have done, but they try to make it like this so that okay, yeah, they know.
And there are sometimes rounds of interview. I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Like in
yeah. For me, it was 3 rounds.
oh wow, in my interview there were four professors like sitting, not round. So it was like that. That was
Yeah,
very intimidating.
yeah, yeah, it can be. Yeah, because I mean, yours was like advertised PhD position. That's why there were like kind of committee members.
Yeah, not in which I got selected in this like another I gave in Australia as well.
Mhm.
So there.
Okay. Yeah, here it's quite common. Even for internship students, I'm included in that. And yeah, sometimes I know that their internship as a student, and it's not good to ask many questions. So I try to ask very basic questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also whenever Indian students are giving interview, I don't want to also show that I'm taking favor or that they are Indians and I'm not
Yeah.
asking simple questions. So I have to be a little bit critical as well because I want to help them as well as I also don't want to have this impression that um, being biased. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now moving ahead, now let's say you have got the position, cleared the interview. Now you have to apply for visa.
Yeah.
So how is that process?
Visa process for Germany is quite easy, I would say, not that difficult, especially because there are embassies in India as well as there are third-party companies like VFS, which is taking care of this visa process.
Yeah.
So especially for PhD students, it's much more easy because you apply for visa with all these documents, what you get, and then you will get your visa within 2 weeks or maximum 4 weeks. So it's pretty simple. But yeah, you have to include all these mentioned documents.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how much it costed you? Like if you are okay in telling?
For a visa,
Yeah.
I mean, now I think it's different, but when I paid, it was 75 euro, maybe around Indian rupees. I have to check.
Yeah.
Okay,
Around
yeah, now I
5,000 something.
yeah, 6,000
Yeah.
something. It was in Indian rupees, and if you talk about in euros, that it was around 65 to 75 euro.
Yeah.
So still, it's less than. I think right now also it should be around same range.
Same, it is same. It's around 6,000 something
Mhm.
because my
Yeah.
friend applied for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So very basic question about it. Like people think going abroad is a big thing, and middle class families sometimes think, oh God, it take lots of money. So can you tell like estimated price, visa, flight, and everything, how much it costed you? And I guess for 1 month you have to survive there on your own money.
Yeah.
So how much it costed you so that a person can decide like, it doesn't take so much money.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that's what we think, especially people from middle class family, that okay, how we will manage all these things. So what you have to consider is your flight tickets. So that may vary. I mean, a good thing is you can take connection flights. They are a little bit cheap. It might take a little bit longer, and you will have jet lag and all these things. But still, it's okay because it will be a little bit cheaper. That might range from, let's say, because you need only one way ticket, so it can range from Indian rupees 20,000 to 35,000 rupees
Right.
for a flight ticket. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap. One way ticket, it's cheap. Not one way ticket, but let's say if you're taking connection flights.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's not that expensive if you are taking direct flight. Sometimes it's within range of
That's why I
30,000
wanted
or
to go
so.
Europe. From New
Yeah.
Zealand, you cannot come like that at all.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to have in your PhD period, if you want to have India trip, you can have, let's say, within 6 months, every 6 months, you can go. But yeah, in PhD, you don't get that time. So yeah, first thing is a flight ticket, which will range around, let's say 25 to 30,000. Indian rupees. Then you have to have a health insurance when you're flying. So it might cost 4,000 to 6,000 euro, depending upon which company you are choosing. Like travel insurance, and which will cover also health insurance. So you have to have at least for 15 days to 30 days for if you're coming to Germany, because it's very important here, health insurance.
Yeah.
And that you will get already once you have signed contract and everything. But within that period, unless you have got the certificate of the health insurance, you have to have this. So in India, you can get this within 4 to 5,000 Indian rupees.
Yeah.
Then the next biggest one is your rent and other expenses in Germany. It might differ from city to city,
Right, does.
but but you have to have a range of like minimum 500 euro to 600 euro for your rent and maybe food as well. But if we talk about overall expenses for 1 month, then you should at least have 800 to 1,000 euros.
Which means like
Which means in Indian rupees right now it will be in the range of 80,000 to 90,000.
got it. Basically, if I include everything like visa and going, accommodation, flight, 2 lakhs, right? Maximum
Within 2 lakh,
within
maximum 2 lakh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
because this is obviously a big amount of money, but not very much. What people think like it will take lakhs and lakhs. Yeah,
It will not. Yeah.
it can be adjusting. Like we can adjust it somehow.
Yeah. It can be. Yeah, indeed. And sometimes what I have seen that not everyone, not in all institute, but some institute like Max Planck or so, they can reimburse your flight ticket and everything. So whatever these costs are, like visa cost, visa application cost, flight ticket, and first month rent, they can all reimburse. So it's really nice. And it takes a little bit of money. You have to prepare for that as well.
Yeah.
But it's not a big amount. It can be arranged, I think.
Yeah. So now imagine you are in flight.
Yeah.
In flight, you got everything, you booked everything, and you are in flight. So what were your emotions like when you were leaving your family for this long commitment thing, PhD? How were you feeling?
Yeah. Excited as well as like nervous, and I mean it was quite mixed feeling.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed as well. So it was like if let's say I'm going to new place and if I don't like it because I'm moving far away from my family, and how I will deal with all these things. So yeah, it was a lot of mixed thoughts going around, but yeah, somehow I managed to do everything.
Yeah.
How was your experience?
It's very tragic because my visa came on 11th of November, Friday.
Okay.
And I was about to cancel my flight. So basically, what was the story is like my PhD got started in July, and doing from home was getting very difficult for me because I was the first one who was going abroad, and my parents are a bit old, like they're around 60. I took birth very late after their marriage. So they all were very emotional. And after like every week, there used to be like they are emotional. So I'm not working. I'm just trying to make them understand. Like they were overwhelmed. I'll go after 4 months for long. I'll go. So I was unable to study, honestly. So in August, like I booked my tickets and everything and visa also. So I thought I'll get my visa in 2 months maybe, because New Zealand visa takes time, but I didn't know it will take too much time. So I booked my flight tickets for 14 November already in August, and I did everything. So till 11th November, 10th November, I didn't get anything, no visa.
Okay.
14th November, I had flight accordingly.
Okay.
But I booked expensive flight, like flexible flight, so that if somehow I didn't
Yeah,
get
you can change the
I'll
date.
change it at least. But other problem was the flight rate was around 3 lakhs for if I shift it. So it's too much money. 3 lakh.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying it's very expensive for New Zealand. And my flight tickets were around 96,000, but I added extra baggage. So it was around 1.5 lakh. So it was huge gamble if I had to shift. So on 11th November, I had to change it. It was the last day to change the flights. And in morning, I got my visa. And neither my professor expecting I will come in November. Because when I booked tickets, he told me bluntly, he said, "Why did you book that, Shalu? You won't get your visa so early." And that too student visa. But I said, now I did it because I'm unable to study here in 1 month. On 11th November, I got my visa. And I was still thinking to change it, maybe for 2 lakh, 3 lakh. But my father agreed, but my mother was like, now you go now. You are unable to study, here you go. So in 2 days, we did all these things,
Packing.
And I was unable to understand what is happening with me. I never lived in hostel. I lived in IIT Delhi, but I didn't enjoy it much, to be very honest. Every Friday I used to go home and I was there for 1 month just. And I didn't like hostel life. So I was like, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So it was like, and in flight, uh, I when I reached, like, it was for New Zealand, there is no single flight. You always have one
Connection flight.
layover. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I arrived Singapore, I started crying in flight. I was like, oh God, now I cannot go to India. And you know what? The shortest flight is 18 hours for India
Oh,
to New
wow.
Zealand. And
Wow.
very big jet lag. It was during
Yeah.
that time 7.5 hours
Oh, wow.
difference. So, and my
Yeah, that's
almost like all the batchmates are in Europe. So I was like, I'm
okay.
first of all, I'm the only one who's going to New Zealand. There is no IIT alumni or anyone I know in New Zealand. And New Zealand already is very barren, like very less population. The city I
Yeah.
live in, it's just 3.5 lakhs. I guess in my
Wow.
mohalla in Delhi, I have this kind of population. And
I think even more than that.
more, yeah, I got all the experience. It's like, it was real bad, I would say. Very
Wow.
challenging. And
I mean,
very challenging. And I
wow.
have motion sickness and very bad motion sickness. So I was alone in flight. I was like, what to do? And I took window seat, like Badal important hai, I did that. Yeah. And then I had to go washroom again and again. I was disturbing people because of motion sickness. Very, very challenging journey.
Same, same. Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit chaotic for me as well because I was also not aware of this visa when I will get the visa because I applied in like last week of November, and then I got email from my lab manager that you have to sign contract because the contract will start from 1st of December. So you have to sign it. So I was like, okay, when to book because I haven't got the visa yet. What to do? And I just booked my ticket. Okay, let's see if I will book maybe 3rd or 4th of December. What will happen? I booked my tickets around in last week of November on 4th, and I think I got email like in 2 or 3 days that I have to collect my visa passport. So it was also for me also like same, but it was a little bit more gap, like more than a week gap. So it was also chaotic for me. Like, okay, what? And my mom just started packing everything that, okay, you need this and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were already aware that, okay, I'm going to leave because uh, I was already in Hungary. I was in Hungary, then went back to India for a few months and then came back again for PhD. So they were already kind of knew that he is going to go. But still, I'm a little bit emotional. So I was also crying at airport. And then I was also like looking around if people are watching me crying, that why
Yeah.
this man is crying.
Yeah, and their
Uh,
accent is
yeah.
also really different. Like when I arrived in New Zealand, there are two types of people here. Like on airport, I'm talking. One British kind of people, like Harry Potter accent, I would say, and one Maori, like
Yeah.
native. So I was able to understand native people, but not British
Mm.
people. So at airport already I was baffled, like what is happening with me? Because in 3 days I
Okay.
got accommodation and everything in New Zealand. So
Uh,
I was saying them I have to go there, and like they were asking some questions because they check a lot. When you are going to New Zealand, you have to be very careful about your packing. This is very, very particular country, like very
uh,
particular. So they are asking me, where are your spices? Where have you put that? Now I'm not getting it. And
spice.
I just spell it out. I am not getting what you're saying, man. So it was like
Why they were asking about spices?
because they think I can add drugs in that.
Oh.
It's a real problem here. In shampoo
Uh,
bottles, truck comes here sometimes, you know. And in February, in Pacific Ocean, 3.2 tons of cocaine they seized. 3.2 tons.
oh,
And it was around 300
wow.
millions. And like last week in
Wow.
Auckland, one research said in air there was methamphetamine drug. So it's actually genuine problem here.
Wow. Even with that less population. Wow.
Yeah. Cool. So,
But yeah, it's a different experience. Good to experience different culture because you learn many things. As I mentioned, if you're doing PhD from abroad, then you're not only learning or enhancing your research skills, but also many life lessons,
yeah,
like living
I was
alone,
about to
doing
ask
all
all of
this
that. Yeah.
stuff.
I have lots of questions in
Yes.
that arena as well.
Yeah.
Like how was your
So
first
yeah, you
day?
can go ahead with the,
Like you
sorry.
know already Indian people from or any community? Like, do you know anyone in Germany before going there?
I didn't know, but good thing was there was one PhD student in my lab who was Indian. So I just contacted him for all these things like about the accommodation and how to do all these processes because once you reach in Germany, you have to do a lot of bureaucracy work like
Lot of bureaucracy.
city
Yeah.
registration, yeah, city registration, then going to immigration office, reporting everything, all these things. So yeah, he helped me a lot. So if you know someone who is, let's say, Indian or whoever is from your community, then it's good. Otherwise, you can also ask your lab mates for helping you. So it was not only that person, that Indian PhD student, but there were other PhD students as well who were helping me. So I asked them as well. So it's not only him. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to ask for help. Yeah, don't hesitate because you're new and you have to get help from others.
Yeah. How is your lab and professor, like in one line or something?
Cool. Is wonderful. Yeah, because we do a lot of discussion, sometimes random discussion. Like, yeah, whenever I'm doing experiment and when I see like, okay, nice result, I immediately just go to his office. So it's not like booking appointment, writing an email that, okay, can we meet for discussion also? Whenever I get something exciting, I just immediately go to his office and inform him that, okay, yeah, this is what I got. Or even if experiment fails, then also I inform him that, okay, yeah, this was the thing, I did this. And then he takes some time to like discuss for that. It's not like, okay, I will discuss sometime later also. He immediately gives us time to do all this troubleshoot. So yeah, that's how, I mean, my project was a little bit fast, and I would say I was lucky that things worked out because of this intensive discussion.
Yeah, exactly. One thing, like, did you find yourself like lonely? Like, there's a difference between alone and lonely. So when we go, we are alone, obviously.
Yes.
So did you feel lonely
Yes.
in this journey? Do you feel? I should ask.
Yeah, sometimes actually, it's not only like during your starting stage of your PhD, but you feel this loneliness like quite often. So yeah, I think it's normal in PhD sometimes.
Yeah, and like now you are in fourth year, right? So I think you must be having
Yeah,
friends
fourth.
now, or like people you
Uh,
can get. You must be having community of people you can enjoy with, or
yeah,
friends.
yeah,
Your go-to
yeah,
people
yeah,
basically
yeah,
if something happens. So in
yeah,
first year, I think we
yeah.
don't have that. I don't have that.
Uh, yeah, for
You
me
probably
also it
need
was the
to
thing, and
manage.
uh, other thing was there was like just after that COVID came because I
Yeah,
joined in December 2019, and then in
March.
February and March it was already COVID time, so lockdown. So in lab also there was no one to like talk. So it was not only feeling alone but also loneliness, and there
Yeah.
was no one to discuss. So it was really difficult. I don't know how I managed. I mean, yeah, sometimes I think I was just like calling my friends back home in India, or my parents, talking to them so that I can be connected to them. Otherwise, yeah, I might have, yeah, maybe got into depression or maybe something weird.
Overtime was
Yeah,
hard
so it was,
if you are
yeah,
away, indeed.
yeah, it is, it is. So that's why I was more like connected to my parents and friends.
And also one question, can you do job along with your PhD? Like, do people do job here with PhD?
Let's say if you have a scholarship, then you will be considered as a student. So you can do some job, part-time job.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you are a PhD student, you don't get that much free time to do, sorry, a part-time job. So, and also your PhD stipend or salary, what you will get is much more enough for your survival. So you don't need to do any part-time job.
But if someone
So I
like
think, yeah,
wants to save more, basically, so is it allowed?
I mean, if your supervisor agrees, then you are allowed to work certain hours.
Yeah.
So full-time working hour is like 40 hours per week, and you might be allowed, let's say, 5 hours to 20 hours per week.
Yeah. Because I have heard here there is tax ID system, something. And if you will earn, your
Yeah.
supervisor or your secretary get to know about it, that you are
Yeah.
getting money from different thing.
And from different source, you cannot. If you are, then yes, you have to ask your employer. That means your supervisor. If he or she agrees, then you have to also inform immigration office. For example, let's say if you're a content creator, because at certain time you get some sponsorship or some kind of money you start getting. So for that, you have to register as freelancer, and you also have to inform your supervisor. He or she should agree. So my supervisor already knows that, okay, I'm doing science communication and all these things, and sometimes maybe someday I will make money as well. So he's totally fine with that. And I have also informed immigration office as well. So they're also like, okay,
Oh,
because right now my situation is a little bit different. I'm not an employee anymore because I had work contract till last year October, because once you are a PhD student in Germany and when you're getting employment like this contract, so it's only for 3 years,
yeah.
and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to extend that. So in my case it was the problem because my lab didn't have that much funding, so it was not extended. But luckily I got a fellowship, so I was like employee for first 3 years, you can say, and then now I'm as a student because
Okay.
I'm getting fellowship. so I'm allowed to like earn extra money. That's
Yeah, because in New Zealand it's different. Here people even like motivate you for that, and your university provides you a job sometimes.
okay.
So
So like on top of your PhD
it's,
salary or a
yeah,
stipend.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
yeah, that's
allowed
good.
kind of here. And there is no tax ID system. Like in my case, I can say that, and the people I know, around me, there is no tax ID system. So no one would get to know that you are earning.
Okay.
Yeah, so
No,
you
here in
here it's
Germany it's regulated. Yeah,
yeah, it's
so
just
it's
you and your bank knows.
okay. No, here it's quite regulated. So if you earn any extra amount, whether it is 10 euro or even 100 euro, then yeah, authorities will know that you are earning from something. So you have to inform tax office. Otherwise, you
Yeah,
might get
here this is
huge fine.
regulated. Like tax office thing is regulated. It's like your supervisor won't get to know it because
Ah,
he or
yeah.
she is not paying you directly. You are getting
Uh-huh.
from university, like whole system directly into your account.
Mhm.
So they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, here also they don't know, but the thing is, you have to get permission from them that they are okay with this extra money what you're earning.
Yeah, here it's not. Here maybe you have to take permission for time because you'll be giving time, but
Mm.
not for money at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
because
if I can ask, how much PhD student get, let's say
yeah,
stipend? Yeah.
it's like if I talk about normal, it's 2400s or $2100 you get.
Okay.
Yeah,
$1,100. Yeah.
so it will
And
be 1 lakh, I think,
okay.
1.10 like that. It's that.
Mhm. And how about the expenses there?
If you are single, then let's say I was living in very expensive accommodation. I used to pay their 1,000 for a month. I'm saying 1,000,
Mhm.
then 400. So under 1,500, you can survive really well because now I'm living in
Okay.
better accommodation. So I pay around 600,
Mhm.
700, I should say, 700 to them. And in 400 and 500, I do think so. But I spend sometimes more. So again, like minimum 1,200, 1,200
Okay. Okay.
because
So
transportation,
including like
you have
everything.
to pay for transportation, right? In
Mhm.
Europe,
Yeah.
it's not like that. So
In Europe, actually, you can get job ticket or this semester ticket if you're a student. So it's
yeah,
for whole semester and it's very cheap.
yeah, here it's not like that. You have to pay. And here transportation is not really good. So sometimes I have to take Uber and that is
Okay.
expensive. So I end up
Ah,
spending more. So that is
okay.
why I said, like, if you're really hardworking, you can go by bike, right? And by walking,
Okay.
if not far
Yeah.
away. But I cannot do this thing sometimes
Okay.
because I am still accommodating with the weather here. It is really unpredictable.
Mm.
Once it is sunny, then you'll get wind because one day I was biking. I do bike here actually. So I was
Okay.
dragging behind. Wind was
Okay.
too much. Like it's like that. But if
Wow.
you accommodate it to that weather, you can save money like that. So I end up spending more. So
Mhm.
it's like that.
Yeah, it's same everywhere. I mean, if you manage your expenses well, then yeah, you can save nice,
Yeah,
decent amount.
exactly.
But not that much that people sometimes think that, okay, if I'll do PhD and PhD salary or a stipend is in lakhs, especially for Indian students, I'm talking about. So they'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe when I will finish my PhD, I will have huge amount of money.
Yeah,
Crorepati ban
some
jayenge.
people think like that, but but some students, what they think? They think we don't get enough money in PhD, so that is why they don't want to pursue PhD anymore. So this is
No,
also
it's
the
not.
mindset.
Yeah, it's not like that. You get enough money for your survival as well as not only for survival but for a better life. I would say. I mean, if you
Yeah,
compare, yeah, struggling life, then it's not like that. It's better as well
exactly.
as you can save decent amount of money to travel, especially for, let's say, I'm talking about Europe. So you can travel around Europe and for India
Exactly.
trip as well. Yeah.
You
So
can
good
have
thing
time
is,
of your life here.
yeah, indeed, indeed. Yeah. And in Europe, it's really nice because once you are here in any country, then you are allowed to explore other European countries as well. Like you can be in European Union, like 28 countries, or some other countries which are not part of European Union but part of Schengen countries.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice. Whenever you get time, just explore around.
Yeah, just want to aware people. Like I heard one incident that there are just like you said, 28 countries comes in European Union. One
Hmm.
of the friend of friends went to some other European country and that doesn't come under European Union or like one country. I'm not really sure about it. Then
Yeah, Switzerland is not in EU.
yeah, I don't know which country she went to or he went to because it was friends of friends, but it like he got trapped there by the officers and it was a kind of cell
Oh,
for but because he or she had to do tickets right away to go back to the home country.
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So one should be really aware which country
Yeah.
you are
So
going to. I just wanted to make that point.
yeah, you have to check. I mean,
I didn't know
because
about it, when she
yeah.
told about that experience of his or like her friend. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh God.
yeah, there are many countries in Europe, but only certain countries are part of Schengen region, like 28 countries where you can explore without visa. Because once you have visa of one country, you can explore other countries, but not all, as you
Yeah,
mentioned.
exactly. I didn't know
So
about it. I thought all. Then she told me about the experience.
yeah,
And here,
so
like one more thing I've heard, like I'm just telling so that if I'll add that in video, so people can get to know about it.
yeah, yeah.
So if you like lose your keys and like
Mhm.
you might have to pay lots of like heaps of money because someone was living in student accommodation and he or she had master key
Mhm.
for the whole home and it had like lots of rooms, maybe around 100, and then he or she had to pay like 20,000 around euros, you know how much money is that?
Wow. 20,000 euros. Wow.
Yeah, it was more than that maybe because for lock. So I just wanted to aware, don't lose your keys because it was
No,
master key for every room. And
door.
if he or she has lost it, so it will be like lots of money for that. And here because the salary of plumber is also very high. So
Yeah.
it's not like that, like you'll bring locksmith and do that stuff. Not
Wow.
at all easy.
I mean, in Germany, it's a little bit different because, let's say, if you're living in an apartment
I was
or if you
talking,
have,
the situation was of Germany actually. Here it's
oh,
the system, yeah.
no, so I mean,
Maybe
my
that person
knowledge
was
is that,
living in student accommodation or something because my friend is also living in student accommodation and hundreds of people live there.
okay,
Anyone, you know.
so maybe it was thing because normally what happens when I was living in my previous apartment. So one of my friend, he lost his key, so he had to pay like 50 euro or something, but not that much. So yeah, it was like that. But yeah, once you lose the main key, like
Master key, yeah, because
main,
it was
yeah,
locked for every.
then yeah, then it might cost thousands of euros for sure. Yeah.
What's the food thing there? Like, do we get Indian food easily? I've heard it's expensive.
Uh, in Indian food, you mean like in Indian restaurants or
Yeah, Indian restaurant, Indian food.
um, I, I mean compared to like if you compare other restaurants, then I mean it's not that expensive because the meal what you get is portion is quite better than the other ones. For example, if you are going to other cuisine, then compared to that, it's I mean it's not that bad. But the thing is, people find it expensive because you can cook same food in maybe 2 or 3 euros, and you will get in restaurant maybe 13 to 15 euros.
Yeah, it
So
is.
that's how the difference is. But yeah, if you are a good cook, then yeah, why not? Try to cook at home. You will save much more money.
Yeah, managing that is tough, I think, but with
Uh,
studies, or it's easy
Even cooking,
cooking.
uh, it's not that difficult actually. I mean, previously, for example, if I consider myself, so I'm a foodie and I like to cook a lot
Yeah,
because I consider it as also a kind of very similar to research because you do experiment, you design certain protocol, standardize
yeah,
and follow step by step thing, and you enjoy your result. And same with the cooking, you have to first standardize certain dishes, and then you have to follow all this step like.
yeah. I
Uh,
wrote article like
but
that in 2020 for my college
okay,
magazine.
yeah, it's same actually. You have to add exactly same amount of spices, salt, and everything. Then you will get nice, delicious food as a result.
Exactly.
So that's how I interconnect, and I like cooking. So for me, it was easy. And in my old apartment, kitchen was really nice. So I was cooking every day, like only dinner time. So I was cooking dinner, and it was a little bit more. So leftover was like lunch already for me.
Yeah.
It was like that. So every day I was cooking something new. But now I'm in another apartment, a new apartment, and kitchen is like, yeah, dabba, small dabba.
And you know, I was about to ask about accommodation, and you brought that part apartment thing. So I guess it's 3.5 years in Germany for you.
Yeah.
So how is apartment accommodation thing going? Like, how are the like? Do you face any problems? Because it also creates
Uh,
mental stress, I think.
Indeed, it does. So especially in this city, in Freiburg, it's really hard to find apartment. I mean, there are many apartments, but the thing is, it's super expensive. I
Yeah.
mean, for students or PhD students, it is expensive. And yeah, you have to invest a lot of time to search for a good apartment because especially for PhD student, you want to have your apartment near to your lab or not that far so
Yeah,
that you can maybe commute in maybe 30 minutes or maximum 40 minutes or so. But if it
exactly.
is less, then it's good for you because especially for biologists, because sometimes you will have experiment in midnight or so. So
Yeah.
you want your apartment to be close to your lab. So it is really very difficult. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was okay, not that bad, because I was looking for. I mean, my previous apartment was nice because I had unlimited contract. but the thing is, it was super expensive. And as I mentioned, my contract, it was like kind of terminated in last year in October, and now I'm as a student, so I'm getting a little bit less money, and I cannot, uh, you can say, spend that much for the rent, and that's why I accepted in another apartment. It's a little bit far, but it's okay. Yeah. So
Cool.
it is a little bit difficult, but you will find. And good thing is there are many groups, Facebook group or WhatsApp group, which will help you, like not help you, but at least they keep posting that, okay, here is a apartment which is going to be vacant, or you can apply there or reach out to that owner. So yeah, there will be some people who will be helping you.
Cool. So now let's wrap up this conversation. So if
Yeah.
I ask, like, I think PhD is like a life. We see lots
Yes.
of emotions, like range of emotions in that. So,
Yeah.
and so what did you learn from this 3.5-year journey, which you can apply later in your life as well? Because it makes you really patient person.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things, I mean, which you learn in this process, like not only the patience part, but like how to handle the level of stress. So your tolerance level is like kind of increase. So you're much more you are much more resistant to stress. So other stress, like they will be like, it's nothing in front of what stress you have gone through in
Exactly.
PhD. Yeah. And other thing is you get much more mentally strong.
Yeah.
So yes, indeed, you will get uh, mental health problem, but if you balance everything, then it's because see in PhD it's very important to maintain mental health and then physical health,
Yeah.
because
Do you
both
do,
are interconnected.
sorry to interrupt. Do you do any sports activity or hiking or things for your or hobbies? I should have asked earlier, but
Yeah, it's I mean, I wanted to add that as well, that in PhD life you must have hobby, anything whatever you like you should have. And I was doing a lot, but yeah, from last 1 year I'm lazy. I've become lazy, like kind of couch potato. Whenever I get time, I'm just like but yeah, I used to do hiking over the weekends, and actually alone as well, like whenever I was getting time, because this city is surrounded with like mountains, like it's a hilly area, hill station. So there are many hiking spots. So whenever I was getting time and I was going to lab and having incubation time, I was going for hiking. So it was really nice. But now, yeah, I have to start it again. But it's good to do sport activities.
yeah, cool. So just last question for you. So when I used to take like interviews in Alamtales, like I used to take interviews for of IIT people, and I used to ask them one question always, like, which instrument inspires you
Mhm.
in your PhD? So you are working with worms, like worm, right? So
Yeah.
how what do you think how worm can inspire you, or any, like, you do incubation or any experiment? Do you take any inspiration from that? For instance, in chemistry we use pipette and NMR tubes in my case and everything. So if I would say I would like to be an NMR tube. So like if I ask you in your field, which instrument you would like to be, instrument or small
Pipette.
apparatus? What?
Pipette.
Bye.
You might have seen from my, I don't know if you have seen, but you will find some videos on my Instagram reels about my pipettes. So
Okay.
I like it a lot. I mean, it's like my, how to say, love of my life after
Yes.
PhD.
Why?
I don't know
Why you
why.
love
I don't know
pipette?
why. I don't know why. I mean, I just like it. So yeah, I mean, because every day you are using it, and if pipette has to be accurate, especially if you're working with molecular biology. So you need to have good pipettes, and I love my pipette. So I don't share with my students because there are some internship students working with me. So I always tell them that, okay, no, you cannot use my pipette. And if they're using, then yeah, I get a little bit furious that they're touching my pipette.
Love of your life.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
So let's end this session. I really enjoyed it, honestly.
yeah. It
For
was nice
accepting
conversation
that.
with you. Yeah,
You would
yeah, it
like
was wonderful. Session. Thank you very much for hosting me. And also, I got to know about New Zealand PhD life in New Zealand a little bit. But yeah, I would like to have a conversation as well in elaborative way, so that you can also share, let's say,
yeah,
your
sure.
PhD life and experiences, what you're going through in New Zealand. So it might be interesting for PhD aspirants.
Yeah.
I mean, you are already sharing on your platform, Grab a PhD Gap, but also, let's say, for my audience as well, maybe I
Yeah,
can
for
share
sure.